So I got this box in the mail from a product that I bought, and I really liked the smooth texture of the cardboard, and I thought, why not make something out of it? So I thought this little peekaboo window in the front could be a really fun little peekaboo window in the front of a journal. So I'm thinking about converting this into a journal cover. I don't know what that's going to look like yet. I don't have very many ideas for where I'm going. I'm just taking that initial idea and seeing where I can go with it. So one thing that I know right off is I'm not a huge fan of this window being right in the middle of a cover, so I might have to do something about that. I might extend it out. Not really sure. The other thing I know is that no supplies are off limits on this one. I think it would be really fun to get a little crazy, try something new, maybe do some beads across the open window. We'll just have to explore together and see. To get started, I'm going to take this box apart. So I'm going to use my scissors, cut off the top and the bottom, and then I'll go ahead and see what reinforcements this needs to actually become a journal cover. For this one, I don't think I'll need too much. I'll do some glue on the spine. Later on, I will come in and tape some of those edges on the inside. You'll just have to decide what kind of integrity your box has. If it is a bit more stable, you won't need as much. If it's kind of flimsy, you're gonna need a little bit more. I really like the feel of this cardboard, so I'm not too worried. I decided that I don't want this hole directly in the middle if I were to do it like that, so I am going to extend this out. And then with this piece, I'm going to go ahead with my sewing machine and do a zigzag stitch to put this together. It's going to look a little haphazard, but I'm okay with that look. Okay, so I went and I zigzagged that. Now, it's not perfect at all. I tried to do a double zigzag where they were actually going to line up and look like a bolder thread. And then I got kind of messed up and decided, you know what, I'm going to run with it. My goal here is not perfection. In fact, perfectionism usually gets in my way. So I'm trying to just go with the moment. It's a piece of packaging. So if it doesn't turn out, that's okay. It's all right if it's no good or whatever we want to call it. So there's not too much risk here in taking a chance. This right here is going to be the spine of my book, and I will reinforce that somehow. I did do a simple layer of glue to get me started. Whenever I don't know what color scheme I want to do right off the bat, I always start with neutrals and then just go from there. See what I'm drawn to that day. I was planning on leaving that completely open, that window, but I'm going to go ahead and see if it's kind of fun to have a translucent layer over part of it. I'm going to keep pulling collage papers and scraps and putting them down. I'm trying not to overthink this too much. So when I get a piece that I like, I just take it and glue it down onto the cardboard. I really like the texture of the cardboard, so I don't think my goal is to cover everything completely up. I think a single layer of this tissue over that window is going to be too delicate. And so I'm just going to add that on the inside. It's not going to affect the look very much, but I think it will give it just a little bit of reinforcement. Texture is really important for me for whatever I am working on, so I'm going to bring in some fabric and see if I can make this work really well on the cover. So my goal from the beginning on this was to make it not feel overdone or overthought. but rather maybe a little bit messier. And I just wanted it to feel really carefree. So I find myself here now kind of overthinking it. I didn't have very much of a plan going forward. And sometimes that can help, and sometimes that can be a bit of a hindrance. And so I'm just trying to carry on, not get too much into my own head here, and just put down what feels good. That looks more light and airy, and maybe I let this be the most of the color. It's not a whole lot of color, but I'm okay with that. And I like the idea of this texturized fabric coming from the front all the way around to the back. I'm going to come in with some stitches, and I'm going to secure this piece a little bit more. I want it to feel bright, but I also want it to complement some of these warmer tones that I put in here. If you're stitching through something that is sturdier, sometimes it's helpful to bring out your awl and use that, and then you can use just a little piece of cardboard on the back. Stitching can just act as another way to adhere things together, like a stapler or even glue. I like to think about it in that way, and then I actually end up using stitching a whole lot more in my work because of it. I wanted to stress this up a little bit, so I'm taking some sandpaper that I just got from the dollar store. I'm gonna rip that down so it's a little easier to use. Oh yeah, I'm gonna like the look of that a lot better. Just kind of just stressing it and making it look not so proper. Taking off some of that black color in areas, some of that shine. I'm okay with the scratchy type looks. That fits my vision a little bit more. So it's all about finding ways to get whatever you're working on to work for you. Things don't always come together super simple, no matter how you see it edited in a video or how it comes together. Like, it may look like it came really quickly, but on this one, I actually had to get out of my head a little bit and just start gluing stuff on and putting it down, even though I didn't have a concrete idea of the papers I was going to use, the colors I was going to use, any of it. And so that's okay if that happens. What you need to do is just keep going, keep trying, get out of your head a little bit, and keep making small decisions that get you to that end goal. I want to be careful not to do it over my stitches too much, because I don't want to ruin the integrity of that thread and then it totally rips off. Ideally, I probably would have done the sandpaper ahead of that, so it had some distressing underneath it. Yep, just accidentally going over part of it, and I did end up cutting some of those threads right away, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and reinforce them another way. Sometimes those things are just happy accidents, and they make you think of ways to do something else, to do it a little bit differently. While I'm at it, I'm going to add a few little pencil scribbles, because I think those are what those scratches remind me of a little bit. So I'm going to lean into that feeling. And maybe I won't add much more onto the back. Maybe that's all that it needed from feeling a little bit too plain. I'm okay that this is kind of has a mind of its own where it wiggles and it jiggles a little bit. I would be happy to be done at this point. I love how everything has turned out, but I think I want to go further into my original idea and bring some beads across that open window area. Let's just say I have a problem narrowing down supplies when we first get going. And so I just brought over everything that I'm thinking of. And really don't know where this is going to go yet, but I just have a vision in my head across this window area of like something coming across here. And maybe it's more of a fringe element with some tied on fabric. Maybe it's beads. Anything that I do, it will be quite minimal. I don't want it to be overpowering, I don't think. Yet I brought all of my beading supplies over here that I thought might work. Still deciding how I'm going to do that, but I think this is going to look quite fun on here. So I just need to now decide how much I'm going to have that like hang down and droop. I think I want a couple more beads on there. I want to leave enough slack so this looks natural just hanging down here. Okay, so that's the first one. I'm happy with how that looks. But I think we need to do something to kind of grunge it back up a little bit. It almost looks like they're pearls strung on there, which I love the look of that, but I do want it to feel a little bit more grunged up. So now I'm going to see what I'm going to do in order to make that happen. So this one I'm actually just going to tie on to one of those stitches that I did earlier instead of going all the way to the inside. I think it will hang a bit more like I want it to if I do that. And again, this is all just an experimentation. There's no right and wrong. Um, I just want to be happy with the results and remember that it was a fun project to work on. I don't want to get too worked up or overthinking because for me at least, I remember those emotional feelings when I look back on something and all I'll remember is that, oh, that really stressed me out instead of, oh, I like the way that that looks. So I'm really working on just trying to enjoy what I'm doing here and going at a pace that I'm comfortable with. It's okay that it's a little bit slower to come together. Not everything has to be a rush to the finish line. This is a little bit more of what I was envisioning, not necessarily strands always going straight across it, but kind of them interwoven and connected. I can't wait to see your take on a recycled packaging journal cover, and I want you to stay tuned because coming up shortly, I will be sharing with you how I make the inside of my journal. I'll be gathering fun pages and papers that I've made, and of course, adding texture and different elements. So I'll be posting that soon for you guys to watch also. But in the meantime, make sure to visit the description for the supplies that I use. Go visit the blog post to learn more and make sure to comment. And of course, please subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps me out. Okay, you guys, I will see you very shortly. Have a good one.